Hello, darlings. Auntie Amos here. I want to tell you a little story about my childhood and how I grew up. My father was a barber. He actually was a barber for 40 plus years. And my mom was a homemaker. She would substitute teach every now and then, but for the most part, she was a stay at home mom. And so, when you're a child, you kind of look at your parents as just that, your parents. You don't really look at them as people who have individual lives, who had a past, who had anything like that. So my relationship with my parents was really based on my interaction with them separately. I never really paid attention to how they got along. It was more so about how they treated me. My parents got divorced when I was 7, and I was kind of clueless to the whole thing. Like, I did not understand what was going on or why. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that um, they were having any issues that would warrant us just abruptly leaving. Me and my mom, we left, and we went and stayed with a family member until one day she said we can go back home. And when we went back home, my dad wasn't there. And so I later found out that they had been divorced, and she had gotten the home in the divorce. And so I was kind of at that time, I had to start going to my dad's house on the weekends, and he paid her child support and things of that nature. But a lot of times when my current clients are going through a divorce, it's more so about them. It's never from the perspective of the child. I'm not going to say they never think about the children, but sometimes it's hard to understand where a child may be coming from when they are sad that the person is left, not knowing the problems that you had specifically with the person. Apparently, in my situation, my dad was abusive to my mom, and it had really gotten bad to the point where, you know, she was afraid for her life and she was afraid for my life. And so she left out of fear. And we were apparently gone for close to a year before we went back to the house. Um, and, um, you know, During that time, I hate to admit it, but I kind of had resentment. Like what, what happened so bad that I kind of looked at it like my mom kicked my dad out of the house, and that wasn't the case. She literally left him in the house and we left, but I'm just telling you from the perspective of me as a 7-year old, like how I looked at it. I looked at it like very personal to me and not so much as to how it affected my mom. It wasn't until I was much older, an adult, before I realized what my mom had actually gone through and how much courage it took for her to, um, make that decision to leave, because I was a straight up daddy's girl. Like, every young childhood memory that I have of going to the zoo or the park or the parade or Astroworld. Any of you who are old enough to remember Astroworld in Houston, Texas, my dad was the one who would take me. And so I was a real daddy's girl and did not realize how his behavior towards me was much different than how he was treating my mom. Like I said, it wasn't until I was much older before I realized that she really did the right thing. Marriage is um, it, it's not something that you should stay in just for your kids. And I hear a lot of people saying, I stuck in it for the kids. I did it for the kids. And you could do that. And like I said, I can't really speak to that side of it, because my mom kind of made the decision that was best for her. She didn't stay just because I wanted her to stay. She actually, like I said, she was in fear for her life, so she did what she thought was best for her, and I appreciate what she did. But I just want to encourage you to do what's best for you, to not always look at it like um, um, I don't want to separate my kids, or I don't want to move my kids out of the home, or, things like that, because kids are resilient. And I was able to move on. And in my teenage years, once I started dating and things of that nature, I did realize how important it is for your partner to treat you right and to be nice to you. And in my first marriage, my partner became abusive, and I was able to look at the strength of my mom and say, hey, she got away. It took her years to get away. It's not going to take me years to get away. And it didn't. Um, so anyway, I just want you guys to be encouraged if you're, in a relationship that you're being mentally, emotionally, or physically abused. My advice to you as Auntie Amos would be to just go ahead and do what's best for you, and your kids will be resilient. And even if they have resentment for you, at the age of 7, by the time they're 13 or 14, they will realize that you actually did what was, best for them. And if they're even younger, just how generations go. My daughter was not even 2 when I left her dad. And so she has no recollection of a life where her dad and I were married. We were married for 2 years before she was even born. So she's not aware of, any of that. And she doesn't have any resentment towards me. So, it's all age appropriate. You'll decide what age is best for you to take that step. But my advice again would be, do what's best for you. Not trying to stick it out just for the kids, because the kids are resilient and they will bounce back. Anyway, I hope that you like this first iteration of my Auntie Amos series. Next week, I will go into a little bit more detail of my life dealing with divorced parents. And so I hope to see you next week. Bye bye.